Right now at 6, a children's book author shot and killed in a Portland bar.
I mean, so many kids, so many families were affected by him.
As we learn new details about what led up to the violence. Plus,
this is political gamesmanship, and we have real people suffering on the streets.
A lifeline now under threat, why Portland street response is now facing potential cuts. And later,
our goal for the future for the Thorns is simple: to be the best.
A brand new era for the Portland Thorns with new owners and a new message for the club and its steadfast supporters. Good evening, everyone. First at 6, some big cuts could be coming to a program some call a vital resource in the Rose City. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. Portland Street Response, the mental health crisis team that responds instead of police, could potentially have millions slashed from its budget. Blair Best shows us what's at stake.
A life on the streets is full of uncertainty, yet there's one Portland program many have come to rely on.
Street Response, that's just like one thing you could always count on out here.
Portland Street Response, a mobile mental health crisis team responding to calls typically handled by police.
There's always someone going around trying to make sure everyone's doing okay.
I would personally say for us homeless out here, there is better resources than the Portland Street Response.
The future of the program is as unstable as the people it helps. Mayor Ted Wheeler has ordered all public safety bureaus to find ways to better balance their budgets. Portland Street Response is part of the Fire Bureau, which is managed by Commissioner Renee Gonzalez. Gonzalez proposed a number of cuts to the bureau, including cutting about $3 million from Portland Street Response.
But unfortunately, they were built with a lot of one-time dollars, and in response to the mayor's direction for budget prep, we had to play through scenarios where there isn't new ongoing money to replace that one-time money. Hopefully, we can find long-term revenues for Portland Street Response and for Portland Fire's core operations that won't necessitate these cuts.
He's been asking the county to help fund the program.
We don't want to see these cuts. We don't want to see cuts in public safety in general.
Commissioner Carmen Rubio agrees.
It would be terrible for the community to cut such an important resource, and especially right now where we are in, experience a crisis of all our responder systems and also our services.
It's unnecessary. I mean, this is political gamesmanship, and we have real people suffering on the streets.
Kaya Sand is part of Friends of Portland Street Response, a community group calling for the program to be fully funded and 24/7. 12,000 people have signed their petition.
The support is legion. I mean, there are people all over this city who really see this is an effective response. We just need our city leaders to commit to seeing it through.
This is a program that could really use like an infusion rather than having their budget stripped from them.
And Blair joins us now. So Blair, we heard from a couple commissioners there. They seem to be on the same page. Where does the mayor land on all of this, and then what happens next?
Well, David, the mayor's office tells us that he does support Portland Street Response, but that he's looking ahead to tomorrow, where they're holding a public safety work session where they're going to talk about all these potential cuts. And we'll be sure to stay on top of that. David.
Yeah, Blair Best reporting downtown tonight. Thank you, Blair. Let's get to your headlines now, starting with another deadly 24 hours on Portland streets. 2 pedestrians were killed after they were hit by cars in southeast Portland. The first was just before 6 p.m. on Southeast Foster Road at 97th and Woodstock, just off I-205. Police say that driver stayed and cooperated with investigators. Then, a little after 2 this morning, another man was hit and killed by a car at Southeast 82nd and Flavel. In that case, police say the driver took off. In Vancouver, a bit of a scary situation Sunday evening when a man wielding a samurai sword walked into a Walmart screaming and threatening to hurt people. Police say this began around 5:30 when they started to get reports of a man with a sword walking in traffic on Southeast 192nd. Officers responded to the store where they got people away and began an evacuation. The man, 43-year-old Ravi Saxena, eventually put down the sword and surrendered. Officers say they also recovered this 5-inch knife in his pocket. The suspect faces charges that include felony harassment. Well, this just into the KGW newsroom. WashDOT says the Spirit Lake Highway up to Mount St. Helens Johnston Ridge Observatory will not reopen until late 2026. You may remember last May when a landslide took out a chunk of the highway. No one was injured, but some people had their cars stranded up top for weeks. Well, tonight, WashDOT says their temporary roadway failed in November, and it won't try a second time. Instead, it'll work on a permanent fix for the highway, and right now, late 2026 is their best estimate. Well, heads up for drivers headed to or from North Portland. The St. John's Bridge will be closed 5 nights in a row starting tonight, and that is while ODOT does maintenance and bridge inspections. The closure will be nightly from 10 to 5 in the morning. It includes the sidewalks, which will be shut to pedestrians and cyclists. Matt?
Thanks so much, David. Yeah, you know what? We're getting some good sun breaks out of the coast. We're losing the light, of course, at Astoria, but a really pretty sight there. We got a time lapse of that coming up for you during the later newscast. 46 degrees at Astoria. Meanwhile, up in the mountain, the snowflakes are flying yet again. It's not super heavy snow, but at least we're getting some new snow, right? There's been about 2 inches new during the day today. We may get a couple more overnight tonight, and temperatures will be falling as the snow level will be dropping, but no threat in the valley of getting any kind of frozen precipitation. We hit 50 today, which is spot on average for the date, and the rainfall for the month is what we got today, but we're way above average since the rainy season began back on the 1st of October, so we're doing just fine in that regard. Tomorrow morning, some light rain, but then it dries up. Be 46 at noon, 49 tomorrow afternoon, and the clouds will break at least for a day because we've got more rain coming our way as we go into Wednesday and more mountain snow. But could we possibly get a second sunny weekend in February in a row? Yes, we possibly can. We'll have more on that later. David, back to you.
That is intriguing. Thank you, Matt. Well, we have an update this evening on a suspect charged with selling the fentanyl authorities allege ended in a deadly overdose. Joe Ranieri is here. Joe, walk us through what happened in court today and what we know about this case.
Yeah, not a whole lot happened in court earlier today, David, but we can tell you Portland police say this is the first indictment in the Multnomah County Circuit Court for a death connected to a drug overdose. This morning, Hugo Gomez Soto pled not guilty. Last week, a grand jury indicted him on several charges, including criminally negligent homicide and several counts of delivery of a controlled substance. On December 30th of last year, a 29-year-old who hasn't been named had collapsed inside his house and was transported to the hospital before he died. Soto was arrested after officers looked over cell phone records and found that the man had text messages from a number that was connected to Soto. They set up a sting operation, and that's when police arrested him.
Mr. Hugo Gomez Soto came to the neighborhood, and he had pills on him. He had baggies of drugs, and he was taken into custody.
That arrest happened near Ida B. Wells High School in Southwest Portland, where they found 20 pills and 2 baggies that tested positive for fentanyl. According to court documents, the pills and powder were also similar to those found on the victim. Gomez Soto's next court appearance is scheduled for next month. David, back to you.
Thank you, Joe. All right, we are learning more this evening about the man shot Friday at a bar in Portland's Centennial neighborhood who later died in the hospital. Daisy Caballero's live in downtown Portland. Daisy, I understand you talked to friends and family. What are you hearing?
Well, David, friends and family are telling me that the victim, Montreal Goss, was energetic. He was outgoing, and he was, to some people, one of the most caring individuals that they have ever met, which, of course, is the reason why this is hitting so many people close to home. Portland police say the shooting happened at around 8 Friday night at Lariat Lounge in Southeast Portland. That's where officers found Goss shot with life-threatening injuries. Officers used first aid until EMS arrived. He was taken to the hospital, but hours later he passed away. His younger cousin tells me the family is devastated. They never thought something like this would happen to their family or Goss. Many of his children books, like this one right here, all revolve around the same theme: a coyote that's misunderstood and trying to find his place in the world while spreading love, something he always strived to do.
I loved his books. I loved the things that he stood for, just the community. I mean, so many kids, so many families were affected by him in North Portland particularly, but just all over the city, right? And so, yeah, it's just one of those where a community icon he will never be forgotten.
Portland police say they are investigating what happened at the bar that led up to the shooting. They tell us there was some sort of argument inside, then Goss left the bar, went to his vehicle, retrieved a gun, and returned to the bar. That's when shots were fired. Now, police say that at this stage of the investigation, no one has been charged or arrested in this case. David?
Thank you, Daisy. Appreciate your reporting this evening.